Welcome to the program, friend. President Trump has until Saturday to end the Iran deal, where Iran might get nuclear weapons. And I've never seen in my life the press coming so unhinged. But guess what? It has happened before. I'll tell you about it. We'll deal with other things too. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to the program, friend. Oil is going up. And the same thing happened in 2014 when the Obama administration was trying to force the deal with Iran. Now remember, Iran is one of the largest oil-producing nations in the world. We don't know what's going to happen with President Trump. All indications are that he is not going to extend the waiver and that he's going to pull the United States out of the nuclear deal with Iran. If you've been watching the news, you know that the Israelis found a smoking gun. They somehow, with their spy network, were able to smuggle out tens of thousands of documents from Iran, showing conclusively that Iran was in fact seeking a bomb, a nuclear warhead, and that they probably still are. So we can only hope that President Trump does the right thing. In my opinion, the right thing is take away the deal, get rid of the deal. Let me explain something to you about Islamic ideology. I'll do it against the backdrop of Russian-American relations. When I was a younger man, we had a military doctrine known as MAD. The acronym still exists, and it stands for Mutually Assured Destruction, MAD. We had B-52s that were constantly flying over the North Pole. We had submarines that were parked close enough to Russia to hit them, plus we had our land-based missiles in the United States and in various theaters in Europe, in the European theater. So we had the ability from 3 different locations to strike Russia. The theory was, if the Russians launch an attack against us, we will be able to respond. Even if they were to have destroyed every single one of our missile silos in the United States, we could still drop nuclear bombs from our B-52s, or we could launch nuclear warheads from our submarines. So Russia was not going to pull the trigger while we had a gun pointed at their head. Hence, mutually assured destruction. Yes, the Russians had intercontinental ballistic missiles where they could strike Washington, New York City, Los Angeles. They had the ability to kill millions of Americans and to cripple us as a nation. But the cost for doing that would have been the destruction of Moscow, the destruction of Leningrad, the destruction of Moscow's infrastructure. Hence, mutually assured destruction. If one of us pulls the trigger, we're both going down. President Reagan upset the apple cart by saying, we're going to create what became euphemistically known as Star Wars. We're going to create the ability to shoot warheads out of the sky. And that program has gone apace. The Patriot missile system, the Iron Dome over Israel, proves that the technology does in fact exist and that our nation is safer, and ultimately we may have the ability to shoot nuclear missiles out of the sky. Setting that aside for a minute, Iran has a philosophy that the Russians didn't have. The Soviets, the Russians, the communists, did not believe in life after death. They believed that everything that they were going to get, they got in this life. That's it. So as they pursued their agenda, they wanted to stay alive. They didn't have a death wish. They wanted to see their kids. They wanted to see their grandkids. They wanted to enjoy the spoils of plunder. All right? The elite communists who were not living in poverty like the worker class, they didn't want to be dead. The Iranians, because of them being a Muslim nation, their leaders are devout Muslims, they believe in life after death. But more importantly for this discussion, they believe that if they die in battle, as they face the infidel, they believe that if they are killed while spreading Islam, while involved in jihad, okay, war, holy war, they believe that when they are killed, they will go to heaven. Muhammad told them that they would escape hellfire, that their sins would be forgiven, that 70 of their relatives, for every jihadist, he goes to his grave believing that he can get 70 of his relatives into heaven because of his blood being shed. You can see the perversion there of Christianity. And that they'll be given 72 virgins for sexual pleasure in heaven. All right, I've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll finish with Iran and the ideals and the philosophy of Islamic war versus the Soviet Union. Don't go away. Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation as recorded by the Bible and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the Church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Kolbe Center for the Study of Creation, and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Kolbe Center for the Study of Creation. Welcome back, friend. So the Russians, the Soviets, and America had mutually assured destruction. I won't shoot you, you don't shoot me, because even if I kill your dictator and you kill our president, it's our families, our children, our grandchildren. We also don't want them to die. The Iranian mindset is, hey, let's raise our sons to be terrorists. But they don't call them terrorists, they call them jihadists. You can watch interviews of mothers bragging about the fact that they raised their children to be jihadists, to fight for Islam and to die in battle so that they can go to heaven and they can bring other relatives with them. All right? So here's the issue with Iran and a nuclear weapon. A Russian has a nuclear weapon and says, if I lob this at them, they're going to lob one back at me and I'm going to die and they're going to die. I don't really like that idea. A devout Muslim who has listened to the words of Muhammad says, if I lob this weapon at them, I get to kill a bunch of infidels and make God happy. They lob a nuclear weapon back at me and they kill me. I then die a martyr for Allah. I then, according to Muhammad, the founder of Islam, I get forgiveness of my sins. I get to go right to paradise. I get 72 virgins. I get to bring my relatives with me. I get to be a hero in heaven. I'll take that deal. I'll take that deal. So if you have somebody who has the mindset of these people that walk into a bar or Bataclan or the Twin Towers with driving an airplane into the buildings and killing innocent civilians, while they're dying and they're yelling, Allah Akbar, God is great, they believe that they are about to go to paradise. And they're willing to trade their life in this world to get eternal life and pleasure in erotic pleasures in the next world. So whether it's an airplane flying into the Twin Towers or a nuclear weapon, do we really want them to possess this weapon? Do we, in other words, forgive me, that was a bad segue. We know what they'll do with a plane. We know what they'll do with guns. We know what they'll do with knives. We know what they'll do with cars, driving on sidewalks to kill people. They know that they're going to die when they do this, but they're glad to make the trade. So what if the Ayatollahs of Iran get a nuclear weapon and they say, I could wipe Tel Aviv off the face of the map. I could kill millions of Jews. I could attack the great Satan and then die a martyr, a hero to Allah and a hero to Islam, go to heaven. I'll take that deal. I'll take that deal. That's why our foreign policy must be that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon and Saudi Arabia can never have a nuclear weapon, and we have to somehow figure out a way to get the nuclear weapons out of the hands of Pakistan, because Pakistan is a Muslim nation. And granted, they have India, And the reason that Pakistan wants and has nuclear weapons is because of the hostility between them and India. India is a nuclear power. Pakistan and India have nuclear weapons pointed at each other, right? But all it would take is a medium to high level coup in Pakistan of devout Al-Qaeda types who then transport a nuclear warhead on an oil barge and bring it to the coast of New York or to the coast of Jacksonville, Florida, or to Baltimore, and then detonate it. Detonate it on the deck of the ship. Detonate it below the deck. The damage, the loss of life, the nuclear fallout, the horror that would come of that is unthinkable. And we've seen how unstable some of these regimes can be. All right? We've seen coups. We've seen what happened in Libya. We've seen what happened in Egypt. Can you imagine if Egypt had nuclear weapons when Mubarak was taken out and the Muslim Brotherhood got control of the country? Can you imagine if they had gotten control of nuclear weapons? That's why I believe and I hope that President Trump will pull out of the Iran deal. Now, all this is going on with the backdrop of the North Korean leader walking over the border and embracing the South Korean leader. So it's possible that we could see an end to the declared hostilities on the Korean Peninsula. I throw that in this segment because President Trump is moving forward in ways that genuinely will impact, for the good, American security. Meanwhile, back in the hellhole known as the secular press, they have been unrelenting in their pursuit of President Trump and ignoring facts and telling lies. I'll be right back to discuss it. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. In case you've missed it, we're not going to play any of it, but Saturday Night Live did a 7-minute opening skit. Ben Stiller was in it, Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow from the Marvel DC comic movies, Stormy Daniels, the prostitute, the hooker, the porn whore. She was on there. And, you know, SNL is SNL, but it's gotten so bad, it's beyond belief. But that's still comedy. For me, the issue is CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Compost. There's no doubt now, it has come out in the press that Hillary's campaign paid for part or all of the so-called Russian dossier. All right? It was a fabrication from the beginning. And this whole witch hunt against President Trump hinges on the dossier, which, as it turns out, is fake. So the FBI, under Mueller, or rather under Comey, went to the FISA court. That's the court that allows spying and oversees spying and warrants for spying, with a fictitious document. That was a crime. They committed a crime. You cannot go to a court with what you know is a lie and say, hey, we need a warrant to spy on so-and-so. The whole special prosecutor, the whole investigation by Mueller hinges on a false document. Now, Fox covers that. Sean covers it on his radio show. Rush covers it on his radio show. George Stephanopoulos, to my amazement, asked Comey in the interview that he did with him Should President Trump have known that this dossier was paid for by Hillary? And Comey said, I don't know if it was relevant or not. But ABC has never done an in-depth story that I know of showing the collusion between Hillary and Russia. Because the dossier was compiled in part by Russian operatives, all right? The fictitious dossier was compiled in part by collusion with Russia. So this whole nonsense of Mueller looking for collusion with President Trump and Russia, which doesn't exist, all right? They've been going at this how long now? Close to 18 months, a year and a half? Nothing has come up because nothing is there. But the real collusion was between Hillary's team and a false document and Russian operatives. That's where the real collusion took place. Why isn't that being investigated? Now, you might have missed it over the weekend, again, because there's been so little good coverage. A federal judge, appointed by Reagan, said, I want to see all of the redacted parts of this complaint. It was a part of Mueller's research. And he said from the bench, you people just want to bring down the president. He called them out and said really insulting remarks to them, laughed at them, scoffed at them. He said, well, so you lied and you've got a secret document and you don't want me to read it. And then he laughed. He said, you've got 2 weeks to bring me an unredacted copy of the document or to explain to me why it's in the interest of national security that I don't get to read it and decide for myself what's in the interest of national security. So evidently, they stumbled into the wrong court because we know that there are federal judges that hate President Trump and would love to see him come down. This judge either doesn't hate Trump or he at least loves the rule of law. But where was the coverage of that? Where has been the coverage of the unmitigated corruption of the Mueller team, of the dossier, of Comey leaking classified information? Comey may have committed crimes. Now, I don't understand for the life of me why Jeff Sessions, our Attorney General, is not bringing either charges or at least an investigation against these people. Now, one of the folks that was involved with this has now had a criminal referral. Please forgive me, I forget his name. But a criminal referral against a part of the FBI, a member of the FBI who was involved in collusion against the president and false statements. So a criminal referral has been made. But why so long? One of the people that frustrates me the most in all of this is Jeff Sessions, and I can't figure out why this is going on. You may remember at the beginning, Jeff Sessions, after his confirmation or during it, admitted that he had forgotten to put down that he met with certain Russian envoys, and it almost derailed his nomination. Maybe he's got something to hide, maybe somebody's got something on him, I don't know. But I feel like he's doing a horrible job for justice. Never mind for the president. He's doing a horrible job for justice. I've got to take a break. I'll be right back. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. Welcome back to the program, friend. I encourage you, let me say it like this. I would advise Christians to not vote. In the upcoming midterm election, I recommend that you do not vote for the following reasons. One, you want Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. Two, you want Chuck Schumer to be the leader of the Senate. Three, you want President Trump to be impeached, because if the Democrats control the House, they're probably going to bring articles of impeachment against the president. Four, you want pro-abortion judges appointed to the Supreme Court, or at least all of President Trump's picks for the federal judiciary to be thwarted. Five, you want an assault on our Second Amendment rights. All right? This is a list of reasons why I would encourage you to not vote. You want the visceral hatred of the media for the pro-life movement, for the pro-marriage movement, for the Second Amendment people like us, for people who want to protect our borders. You want the media to prevail in their struggle. And also, if you don't want a wall, if you don't want immigration policy change so that we're not just allowing potential terrorists in willy-nilly, then please, by all means, don't vote. Stay home. Tell your friends at church to stay home. Ask your pastor to make an announcement from the pulpit telling the people that politics is of the devil and that the things of this world are a distraction, and that our mission is to preach the gospel and to lead people to the Lord and to not worry about the things of this life. As J. Vernon McGee said, why polish brass on a sinking ship? So the ship is going down. Don't bother polishing the brass by voting in an election. Let the ship sink. In the meantime, tell as many people about the Lord as you can. If these are the things that ring your bell, then by all means, don't vote. But if those things trouble you, then you might want to stay focused to the House election in your area, the U.S. House. You might want to stay focused on a Senate election in your state if you've got one, all right? Every 2 years, 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election. And if you don't want to see Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, and you don't want to see Chuck Schumer as the leader of the Senate Majority Leader, then you might want to do something crazy like vote. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because in my viewership, which is predominantly a Christian viewership, there are statistics that show how many of us are registered. Then there are statistics that show how many of us vote. And if the statistics hold true for the Christian community and they parallel the viewers of this program, I know this is going to be crazy to your ears, but only roughly half of Christians are registered to vote. And of those who are registered to vote, only about half of them show up on election day. It's 25%. Now, what's going on right now in the world of politics is the enemies of President Trump, the pro-abortion, pro-homosexual agenda activists, they are on fire to take the House and to take the Senate. So the question is, will apathy that often emerges during midterm elections, will the apathy of the Christian community pave the way for the success of those who hate Christian values in politics? So, you have a part you can play in this. Are you registered to vote? And are you ready to vote? Are you ready to go out there and do everything in your power, not just with your vote, but with your words, with your phone calls, to emails to friends around the country, to ensure that Nancy Pelosi does not become the Speaker of the House? Think about it. I'm going to have to say goodbye. I look forward to talking to you on our next program. God bless you.